Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my 25,000 subscriber celebration, and I requested some questions from the people who essentially make the channel what it is, the people who watch the videos, the people who interact, the people who care, I guess is the best way of putting that. And what I've done here is I've opened up the email address that I gave everybody to send stuff to, and we're just going to do it live, we're going to do it blind, we're going to see what we've got here. So you might hear a little bit of clicking, because your dogs were bootleg, we're getting all up in this. The first one we've got here, should I do names, should I not do names, that's the question. Some of these names look like full names, some of them look like usernames. I think I'll just go anonymous with this. You know who you are if you left these questions. The first one is, hi Sarah from 17, congratulations man, love your videos. I'm really surprised you just have 25,000 subscribers, but the way you put out quality vids, it's just a matter of time before you amass more. You have some really genuine and fun stuff. Hopefully none of this is personal, like, you know, my dick is only 3 inches long, Chris, how can you help? I've been watching a plentiful of your videos, and every now and then you'll mention that you studied game development or something similar. I was hoping that maybe you could talk about your experience with the program, why you chose it, did you like it, were you considering a path in it for your career? Thanks, and love, love, love the ranting. I'm crimming my pants in anticipation for Dark Souls 3 PvP. Your Go With God videos still cheer me up when I'm feeling low. Well, thank you for that, brother. So let's get to answering it, shall we? So, I wanted to study games design my entire life, really. It's one of those things that's kind of been something I've always been interested in. But when I was younger, how do you do that? You know, like, when I was at school, they didn't really tell you how to learn to do things that you wanted to do. They kind of had things that they thought you should do. And I'm a pretty indecisive person, so it's always something I wanted to do, but I could never really find a way to do it. Obviously now, there's a lot more services to do this, especially with the internet and with the, you know, the advent of all these different courses and these schools that are focused directly in on that. But I studied the next best thing. I didn't actually study games design, I studied art. Always been an artistic guy ever since I was small, and I went to college to do art. And after that, I had a little bit of a break because I was kind of burnt out, and I wanted to do game design. So I tried to go back to college with a buddy of mine, and we were going to do media, and we were going to hopefully do some kind of, you know, expansive media course that kind of covered everything, so that you would get some of the skills that you would need for, you know, the awareness of game design to maybe take it at university. And I can never forget this. We got there on the first day, and I went into the building. It was a building I'd spent like 3 years in at that point, so I knew it very well. I was in a completely different part of it, and I walked into like the interview room, and there was 3 people sat at a desk, like I assume 3 lecturers. And I walk into this room, and I can be a pretty confident guy when I need to be. Doesn't necessarily mean that's how I feel inside. I was nervous, but I can sell it. I always have. You know, that's who I am. So I go into this room, and I essentially drop a stand-up routine, making all these 3 people laugh, you know, selling them who I am as a person, what I want to do, all my my ambitions, and what I think I can add to this, and how excited I am for it. And they loved it all, they lapped it up, it was great, but they said they couldn't have me. You know, that moment you're just kind of like, oh shit, what does this mean? What have I done wrong? And it turned out that because I'd already graduated and actually got a decent grade from college, if I were to do it again, I would have to pay. And a lot of the information that I'd got never mentioned that. It mentioned you could do it up to a certain age, but it didn't say anything about paying. And we were just, you know, idiots at the time, I guess, thinking we could get another course for free. But that's kind of what we'd built, excuse me, our summer on it being. So when we went to this, and this person essentially said, like, you've got everything you need from college, go to uni, man, go to uni, you seem sound. And the woman even said, one of the women, like, I wish I could have you on my class, because I assume some of the people that they got that year applying maybe weren't as interesting, but it didn't end up working out. And then I took a little bit of time away, and then I went to a couple of years later to try and do a games design course. And when I went into the building and I asked them about them, the only place you could do it was Huddersfield, which is a little bit of a distance from me, and I didn't really want to go to Huddersfield. And I think it was the first year that the course was actually being run, and a buddy of mine had just done the year before, the first year of a course, and it's generally not the best idea because they're still working out the kinks. It's all over the place, it's up and down, it's left and right, there's nothing, you know, established, there's no routine to it, and it can be a little diminishing. So I ended up taking a course by the name of Digital Film and Visual Effects, because almost everything in it, from the editing to the script writing to the production to the 3D to the motion graphics, was the type of stuff that can translate into the mediums that I enjoy. So I ended up doing that. But I never actually managed to study game design. I guess I do it every day in some ways when I play, and I'm always fascinated by it, and I love talking to people that know, that have been taught about it, because I think there's a large divide between passion and actual academia. You know, knowing why to do something rather than knowing what something is a big thing for me. And if there is a rule or a principle that can be learned, I'm always fascinated to learn about it, to learn why it exists, and then to learn when to break it, because that's when the real creativity happens. But basically, dude, I didn't unfortunately manage to cover game design, but I always kind of wanted to. It was kind of my white whale. But thanks for your question. Hopefully that answers that for you. Alright, so the next one. Tell us your fetish. Save. No, I've got it. Fuck off. Tell us your fetish, you filthy animal. Keep up the great work. Greetings from Belgium. Fetish-wise, I find your fetish just change as you get older. That's one of the things I've definitely noticed. I'm definitely an arse man. It's one of the things I really enjoy. That's fetishized in my view. Anything I've grown a philia for? I don't really know. I don't really have anything too crazy. I don't like being whipped. I don't like being spanked or in leathers or any of that kind of crazy stuff. I'm pretty boring, I guess. But who knows, I'll change. That's what I was saying. As I get older, my proclivities do change. So there you go. Okay, thanks for letting us take part in this. My question is, do you ever find it difficult to find the motivation to persevere through your very strict deadlines? You mentioned in your Tomb Raider walkthrough that you should have got it out sooner. You can't be perfect all the time, but realistically, that's one of the only slip-ups you've ever made. So how do you manage to stick to that ridiculous time constraint? You made an insane amount of walkthroughs in November. To round this entire message up, what gives you the energy and the willpower to push on and work ridiculous hours? Thanks for taking the time. No problem, buddy. So in honestly here, let's break this down. My deadlines aren't strict. I'm strict. That's the distinction. I'm incredibly good at focusing on things, especially when I have to. I'm one of those people where I'm like jacked, straight up. Why do today what you can leave for tomorrow? I am that dude and I fucking hate it. I really do. I don't know why I do it that way. Like today, do you know what I've done today? I've sat in front of this computer with several things to do, and all I did was watch shit on YouTube, waiting to eat my dinner, get some coffee in me so I could make this video, when I could have done a million other things, and I just sat on my ass and did fuck all, watching Punko, like play randoms on Street Fighter 4 and, you know, random internet junk. And that's what sometimes I'll do, when I could be doing all these other things, and I'll regret it and I'll hate myself for it, and in an hour or so I'll work out and I'll probably feel a bit better then, because I feel like I've motivated myself to do something. But it all depends, dude. It all depends on mentality. Tomb Raider should have been done sooner, there's no two words about that. I got that game when it came out, which, what was it now, like November? It came out same day as Fallout, didn't it? And I should have made it then. And my intention was to do Fallout during the day and do Tomb Raider at night, but at that particular moment in time, my parents were away. They went out abroad, and my girlfriend was here, and I had free reign to do whatever the fuck I want. I didn't have any restrictions, so I could have done it at any time. But I was spending a lot of time with my girlfriend because, you know, that's the best time you can spend, really, and why would I not want to do that? And I felt guilty for that. You know, it's one of those weird dichotomies that you get to. And as far as slips, I've slipped a lot. I've slipped a whole bunch of times with stuff I should have done and stuff I didn't want to do. Like one of the first real slips was Ground Zero, because if you remember, Dark Souls 2 was out, and all I wanted to do was play that game, and I couldn't get it out of my blood, and I had to make a walkthrough for Ground Zeroes. So when I played Ground Zeroes, and I had to push myself, like really push myself, and you're probably thinking, like, it's video games, Chris, how the fuck do you have to push yourself? And I'm with you 100%, but I did. Like, I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I finally get the fucking game on, all miserable, like playing a stupid video game. I don't want to play the video game. And I started playing it, and it was a fun game. And it was over in like 5 minutes. I'm like, what? And I was so happy because I could get back to what I wanted to do. But I think that's the epitome of what work is. Work is that thing that you do when you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. And that's why I think anything can be work, and I think anything can feel like work, even if you love it, and even if it's something some people perceive to be fun. In November, I did make a crazy amount of walkthroughs, and I actually work better when it's like that, believe it or not, when I can just kind of do that. But a lot of it is down to my mind in a lot of ways. Like at this moment in time, I don't know why, and I don't want sympathy, but I'm a little bit down at the moment. There's no reason for it. Something subconsciously is fucking with me, and I'm ignoring it because there's no point. It's a waste of fucking time. I want to get on with stuff, I want to be motivated, as you say, and I want to get stuff done. But at the moment, I can't bring myself to do it. And it's only like a couple days with the funk, and when I see my girlfriend and stuff, I'm fine, and when I'm interacting with folk, I'm fine. But inside, there's definitely something that's knocking me off, and I can feel it. I'm restless. And it generally means I have to do something different, and I'll probably find it maybe later on today, who knows. But in a mindset such as this, it's very difficult to do anything. And unless it's something that I'm wanting to do and I've not realised. Like the other day, I ended up putting on Yakuza Ishin and having a ton of fun on that game, because that game is so good. Even though I can't tell a fucking thing what's happening, but I had a ton of fun with that. In a mindset such as this, I need to be busy. I need something to need me. And if I don't have that, I can get really lazy. But when it is firing, like I've got Gravity Days Remastered coming maybe tomorrow. I hope it comes tomorrow, because that'll be the kick that I need up my ass to play that. Walkthrough, commentary, boom. Next thing, Firewatch. Do it. Street Fighter 5, do it. When I'm busy, I'm happy because I can focus on it, and I can be incredibly antisocial in that. But it might just be a combination of the weather and, you know, being under the weather and things like that. But as far as motivation, it's kind of, I want to do well at the things that I apply myself to, and I think this is something everybody can relate to. And YouTube is one of the avenues where I'm not very good at it. Never been very good at it. And the way I measure being good at it is numbers. And my numbers are not spectacular. I'm massively grateful for what I get, but of course we always want more, and we always have aspirations of having more, and we always have these views and these visions of being bigger than we are, and, you know, why aren't we the successful one, why aren't we this, why aren't we that, blah blah blah. So that's a motivator for me, because I don't like failing, I don't like losing something when I put everything I can into it. Like a lot of people will give you this mentality of, oh, you tried your best and that's all that matters. Well, it isn't to me. To me is I tried my best and something happened, you know, something came of it, something validated the effort that went into it. And that's kind of what I'm looking for at the moment, because I'm at the precipice of starting my life, as I like to say it, and I'm kind of working towards that springboard into something better, and I don't know when it will come. I don't know if it'll ever come, and if I can work harder to make it come quicker, then that's what I'm going to try and do. And that's kind of what I can focus on in those moments, you know, just that hope that things will get better, that hope that you will be appreciated, or your particular brand of whatever it is that you do and you're passionate about will get noticed and enable you to take it to the next level, because it's all about leveling up, to bring it back to games. And that's what I'm looking for, that's what I'm striving for. And truth be told, it can be hard sometimes when you put in, you know, 18-hour days for 2 weeks solid, and then your paycheck comes and you would have got literally more if you were on income support. But then you have those other months where you do better, and hard work, man, it pays off. It's what we've got to believe. But ridiculous hours are my friend, and I'm good at it, and things that I'm good at, I try to be better at, and you've just got to try and better yourself. So yeah, that's it pretty much, dude. Thank you for the comment, thank you for the kind words and the support. Hey Chris, I've been he's been a van, guys, it's a vehicle. I've been a fan for a couple of years now, and I just wanted to ask you, when did you begin making game walkthroughs on YouTube, and why? Thanks in advance for the reply, and keep making amazing content that brings people joy on a daily basis. Thank you for the kind words, brother. So, when did I begin making walkthroughs? I made my very first walkthrough. It was for Alan Wake DLC. I forget which one it was. It was a no-death run for an achievement. It was back in 2010 when I first got my Elgato. Elgato? Never. Fuck it, no. HD PVR, sorry, Elgato. Get out of here. And it was just before Christmas. It was in December. Made the channel then, recorded it then, and I think I made the video and put it up onto YouTube in the new year, which was 2011. The reason I started doing walkthroughs is because it's something that I always wanted to do. You know when you see something and you're like, that's cool, I could do that? That's what it was. But I didn't know how to do it because I was one of those people that I couldn't understand how you would take your game and put it onto a computer and then convert that on a computer into the internet. To me, that was too far-fetched. Science fiction. I didn't know what you needed to buy. I didn't know how you would go about doing it, so I didn't do it for a very long time. But then when I finally figured out how, and I got some insight, I snapped it up, and I started doing it, and the rest is history. So I got a couple on here. First off, I'm a big fan, and have been watching your walkthroughs for years. How many hours a week do you play video games, both for pleasure and for the channel? That's the first one. This is a tricky question. I play games every day, and I do it because I want to, not because I have to. Always have. A great example here is DSP. He's a guy I mention quite a lot. He's a fucking logical absurdity and he's hilarious. He's kind of this internet train wreck. Check him out. This is a dude who plays like 3 hours of games a day and complains about doing that, even though he's being paid to do so, oftentimes by people like you. And then afterwards, he doesn't play them. That to me doesn't make sense. I love games, I always have, ever since I was a kid. When I was introduced to them, they changed my life. They were the thing I was born to do, and that's how I see it. So for me, I am always thinking of when I can get to play a game, because that's what I enjoy, you know? It's not even, like, you could call it an obsession in some ways, but it's not even an obsession, it's more of a lifestyle. To me, it almost feels like I'm home when I'm doing it. So there will be times when I play a ridiculous amount of video games. There are times when I will play until I fall asleep, and then I will wake up and I will do it again, and I will keep doing that, and it will not be like, you know, shouldn't I do something else, shouldn't I do this or that? It doesn't even correlate in my brain. My brain's just like, ooh, what's over here, what's over here, ooh, I just did that, let's do this, and that's all it is. Then there'll be other times where I don't touch it for large periods of time. For instance, when I go to my girlfriend's house, over there, I'm with my girlfriend, which I'm generally watching TV, we're doing whatever she wants to do, and I'm being the boyfriend and everything, and I don't play any games. But how many hours a week? I would say I do about 6 hours a day, minimum. And it fluctuates, unless I'm doing something very specific where I won't play. But there are not many days that go by where I don't play a game. And it's kind of always for pleasure, but a lot of the time you're always thinking, this can be this on the channel, this can be that, this can do this. Like last night I was playing Immersion again, and I was fighting Tiger Saijima with a big-ass sword, and I'm fighting him. Now, I could record this and put it up because it's a funny fight, and I probably will, because I did record it, and I ended up getting no damage against him, which was a pain in the ass because the game kept healing me, and it took ages for him to beat me up. But it's a lot. It's a lot. For somebody who gets it, it's probably not too much. It's probably just what they'd like to do. So for somebody who doesn't get it, I probably sound like a fucking psychopath. Because there's a wide divide between somebody who plays, you know, an hour's worth of Call of Duty on a Friday night before they go out and get drunk and drugged up, between what I do. And, you know, it's really, really wide. But how big is your games collection? And do you prefer physical or digital copies of games? If you could see my room now. My collection's rather vast. It's quite big. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to games, because I just kind of like them. Always have. I have all my N64 games still boxed. I have all my GameCube games. I have all my PS2 games. I have all my 360 games, Xbox One, PS4, that kind of stuff. I would say it's about maybe 200 items if you put it all together in a big lump. I've got all my Game Boy Advance games, all my Castlevanias and shit. I've got a ton of PlayStation 1 games, all like Final Fantasy, you know, multi-case, RPGs, Silent Bomber, you know, that kind of stuff. I preferred physical for a very long time, and I still kind of do, because my issue with digital is a lot of these new consoles, you can't access your digital library unless you purchase online. So if you're not paying for PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, you can't play those digital games. So you're buying hypothetical rights to things instead of actually owning them, and I find myself really resenting this next generation of hardware because every time I turn it on, I can't play online because I have to update, and it's a fucking gigabyte, and my internet does that in about 2.5 days. So I'm just really resentful of the whole digital constantly on bullshit that they say we didn't need, and that PlayStation like, oh, you won't need this yet. The other day I couldn't play fucking Bloodborne till it did some bullshit. Like, I don't like digital. I'm a dinosaur with that. I prefer physical. With the PC release of Dragon's Dogma, do you plan on making a walkthrough or any type of video for this game? I don't. Sorry. I don't like Dragon's Dogma. Everybody told me I was going to like this game. I picked it up. I chucked a woman off a roof, and then I ran around, and the combat felt like shit. The game itself is quite big in scope, and there's a lot to do, and I hear great things about it. But when I start fighting and it doesn't feel good, I don't want to play your game. And it didn't feel good to me. I like the climbing aspect where you climb the big monsters, but everything else, no. Just, I can always tell if I'm not going to like a game, and I didn't like that game. And that was a very long time ago, and I'm probably never going to try it again, so sorry about that, but it's not for me. Hey, your videos are great! Exclamation marks. To my question, if you want to answer it, what's the story behind your channel, or how did you come up to make those walkthroughs? And then we've got, I assume this guy is German, and I was going to try and read the German thing he's got underneath, but for all I know that could be his name and address and like his bank details, so I'm not going to do it. I've answered this earlier, but I'll do it again in a different way. So, a very long time ago, I was on the internet. I don't know how. You know, back then it was difficult to do. You had to catch a peregrine falcon and let him take you to his sky kingdom. And I was looking for Gears of War footage, because I didn't get into the Xbox 360 generation of consoles, because I just didn't want them. I didn't see anything interesting. And I watched a competitive tournament of Gears 1. And I thought it was amazing. The game looked great. I saw the chainsaw. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's insane. I need to play this game. And just the idea of everybody starting with the same guns and having a gun for each situation and kind of rock, scissors, papering each other, I thought was really, really cool. And the small teams and just those tense standoffs that happened in Gears 1, they kind of lost that in the later games. So I was looking online for information about this game, and I came on this site called Next Gen Walkthroughs. I don't know if it still exists. They changed the name a long time ago, and they became something different. But on this, there was a video walkthrough for Gears of War on Insane. And when I clicked on it to have a look at the campaign, there was a guy talking, a guy from Colorado by the name of Beer Baron. Really cool voice as well. And it was just that moment where it was like, this is fucking cool. I want to do this. I could do this, you know. And that was it. That was literally it. But that was... when did Gears come out? 2007? I can't even remember. It came out a while back, didn't it? Might be later than that, maybe 2008. I don't know. My dates are terrible. And I kind of didn't know what to do, as I mentioned in that last question. And I bided my time, and I bided my time, and I was waiting, kind of thing. Not really thinking about it, not actively thinking about it. And then I was really into watching Call of Duty on YouTube. My original YouTube username was American Psycho 17. Because I was massively into... I read the American Psycho book, and I was really into that story. And I've always liked 17, it's my favourite number. And I was looking online, and I was watching COD 4 videos, COD 4 commentaries, back in the day. And I used to really like a guy called FPS Kyle, which he had a series back in the day called FPS Russia, where he would do free-for-all on these games on Call of Duty, and he would pretend to be a Russian while he was doing it. And it was always really funny, and lo and behold, you're probably already like, oh, I know this name. He went on to pretend to be a Russian firing real guns and have a very successful YouTube career. But before this, he used to commentate videos, and he commentated my favourite player of COD ever, which is a guy called Socrates, who was this really humble dude, fucking monster on COD 4, and I used to worship him, because I thought he was great. I used to watch his videos, motivate me to play COD, go on COD 4, destroy people, gain like 40 kill TDMs, and really, really fun stuff back in the day. Back when I was on a CRT, no high definition here, boys. And he was talking about a HDP VR. FPS Kyle, when he was commentating one of Socrates' TDMs on, I think it was Pipeline, when he was just murdering dudes with a silenced P90. And I was like, what is this thing he's talking about? And I assumed it was, you know, I think he mentioned capture card, something like that. So I googled it, and it came up, you know, HDPVR, this, hop-odge, capturing device, external, this and this and this, capture your video games, nice and easy. And then I went to play.com and I bought it. And it came a couple days later, and I made my first commentary, which was a team deathmatch on Black Ops 1 on firing range using the AKS-74U before it got patched. And I sound like I'm in a forest terrified. But that was it, you know? It's that simple. It's you kind of land into things, you fall into things, and it's not what you expect it to be. Right, what is your favourite movie, game, book, quote? Kind regards. Favourite movie? I used to say Hard Boiled for a very long time. Chow Yun-fat, John Woo, good old Tequila. I absolutely adore that movie. I don't know if it would be these days. I kind of fluctuate between them. But I'm a big Die Hard fan. Die Hard 1 to me is a special film. And Predator. Predator, for some reason, it's almost like we were meant to be. So I don't really have favourites because I have a lot of favourites. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Hard Boiled just because it sounds posh, doesn't it? Like, what's that? Oh, it's this eclectic shooting film. Favourite game? It's another really, really tough one. Very difficult to answer. I honestly, I can never answer that. At the moment, Yakuza, because I'm in a really, really big Yakuza mood, but I wouldn't in maybe 2 months say the same. Favourite book quote? Ooh, Jesus. I used to have quite a few. This is one of those moments in it where you can quote Blake or you can quote Keats or something and sound really cultured, but I'm not gonna. I don't know, man. I really don't. As far as book quotes go. I read a quotation from a lecture that Bertrand Russell gave, which always stuck with me, so I can use this, because I then went on to hear it on an album by a band. I forget the name of them. They're a death metal band. And at the beginning, he says, "I know that when I die, I will rot, and nothing of my ego will remain." And that really stuck with me. Even though in the song, he's like, "When I die, I will rot." And he sounds super English and angry. What car do you drive? Sent from my iPhone. I don't, believe it or not. I cannot drive yet. I had driving lessons when I was 17 for a couple of months, and kind of stopped. I never went back, so at the moment in time I don't. But it will probably be something crappy when I finally do. And if I could drive anything, it'd probably be like a Mustang from an old Chase movie. But I'm not a big car guy, so not the best question for me, unfortunately. Dear Chris, congratulations on getting 25,000 subscribers, and here's to 30,000. If you had a chance to go back to using music from albums for your intros, would you do it, or would you prefer to continue using audio from games you're currently making content for in order to keep it more relevant to the game? P.S. Have you ever heard of a YouTube channel called Extra Credits? It's a show made by people who have actually worked in game development, all about game design and the like. Yours sincerely. I have not heard of that channel, but it sounds cool. Type of stuff I'm definitely interested in. As far as using music, I used to love that, dude. That's the one thing that sucks about YouTube. The fact I cannot make what I want to make, because if I want to put money on it, if I want to put ads on it, and make money, which is kind of the motivation to keep doing it, because it enables me to keep doing it, I can't do it. It's awful. Like, I like having game music for walkthroughs because I think it's pertinent to walkthroughs. But for everything else, I'd have music every single time. I love music so much. Like, I love music on par with games, but it fluctuates up and down, whereas games is kind of a constant. So for me, putting music on there used to be one of my favourite things to do. Like, straight up, picking sections from songs that I adore at that moment in time, it dates things for me. Like, I'm one of those people that when I hear a song, I can remember exactly where I was when I first heard it, or I'll have a memory associated with the lyrics or the song or something like that. And that's what I did to a lot of those projects. So when I listen to those early videos and I hear that music happen, I can literally see myself where I was when I made it. And I think having that kind of memory and having your brain work that way and associate things like that is wonderful, because it's literally a trip whenever you go to those old videos. But now, it don't mean shit to me, because I'm picking from music that I don't particularly know. So it's less personal. And there are times when I can find music that's wonderful and I can add it to it. And I generally try and find music that I do like from the games to pop them on. But it's nothing compared to having what I would like to put on. but it's one of the conditions of my partnership, which, yeah, I'm not happy about, but what can you do? Find another partnership, Chris. There you go. Congrats on 25,000 subscribers. Here's to reaching 1 billion. My question is, what does it take for a video game to have in order for you to become immersed in the world they created? Immersion's a funny thing. Immersion is hard. It's very hard. I find I get immersed quite quickly, quite easily, by having something visually interesting to look at, something audio-wise that's moving and that resonates with me personally, and then having something in the gameplay that keeps me in it. The worst thing you can do, I think, in a game is take control away from the player, unless it's very important in what it's doing. Like after a cutscene at the beginning of a game, I don't think there should ever be another cutscene until it's something important, because you can't just keep giving the player control and then taking it away from him. It's one of the worst things you can do unless you appreciate that this is 100% story, and that's kind of what you're playing it for. That's the kind of stuff that I think really kills it for me. Another one is if it's too overly gamey when it's coming in and out of sequences, that can break immersion. But it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Like, I love games now where it does the least amount of bullshit to get back to the game. And I love seamless transitions. Seamless transitions, I think, are the future. A great one for me, which I wish they would have done, was in The Last of Us. Can you remember on the main menu on The Last of Us, it's that awesome looking window and that brooding guitar? The moment you press new game and whatever difficulty you pick, that camera should have slowly pulled out and you should have been stood there as Joel. And then you could have just turned him and you were in the game. No fucking about. And I think that would have been beautiful. I think that would have been the best kind of introduction. But a lot of games don't really do that stuff. Some of them do, and it can be really interesting, but immersion's a tough thing. I'm not really looking to be immersed these days. I'm more looking forward to the gameplay and the gameplay ramifications. I think Souls do that well, because if you're not immersed, you're dying. You know, you've got to be 100% invested and understanding, or you're just going to get killed. So I think immersion works great for those, but it's not the same kind of immersion that you would get if you were playing something like a Telltale's adventure game. It's very personal, I think, this kind of question. But those would be mine. So what is time? Here we go. I thought we'd get some funny ones. Time is a construct that we as humans created to make ourselves feel better about getting older. It also enables us to value what we have before we die, which then makes our death in itself more important, seem more sophisticated than it is, because we achieved a certain measure of things that we can equate via time. Time is an interesting thing, but it is illusory. It is a construct. It's something we made. It doesn't necessarily exist, yet we use it to measure almost every single arbitrary detail of our lives. Fascinating, isn't it? I like time, though, even though it always seems to be against me. So what exactly is it about good jokes that make people laugh? I don't know. It's got to be something that resonates with your personality, something that tickles you. And that's what it is. It's the ability to tickle multiple people. If you can do that, they will laugh. And I don't mean physically tickle, I just mean tickling that right spot where something silly happens and it gets you. And then of course there's the whole kind of like fucking by proxy empathy thing that we do, the mirror neuron reactions, where when you see somebody laugh, it makes you more prone to potentially laughing. Which is why when you go to a theatre or a cinema, you know, it's easier to have that shared experience because it makes you a little bit more forward. Do human beings have free will? I would say yes. Because I could have said no, and there was a choice there, so that was my will being enforced. Yeah, definitely. I think we do. I think we have to. But at the same time, we are slaves to instincts. We are slaves to programming that is essentially wired into the very being of what we are. So that urge you get to procreate when you see a pretty woman, or when you see anything, really. Anything that's remotely hole-shaped, is definitely that old programming reminding us that we're nothing more than deluded animals who think we're so much more advanced when really we're not. And what is, in your opinion, the best and worst thing to happen to gaming in the last 20 years? Best thing to happen to gaming. Ooh, that's really hard. Better checkpoints. Worst thing to happen to gaming in the last 20 years? The casualization of it. The fact that games now want to be experiences that everybody can have. Instead of, I couldn't beat that game because I was too shit. And your friend goes, oh, I wasn't that shit, so I beat it. You know, that's what gaming should be. It should be something that not everyone can do. Because that's where you aspire to be better, and you aspire to better yourself. There's a reason why not everyone can speak every language. There's a reason why not everyone can play every instrument. Because you have to fucking learn to do it. You have to put in the time. You don't put in the time, you'll not do it. Do you want 24-inch arms? Put the fucking time in. Do the diet. You know, it's hard. It's meant to be hard. And that's what gaming is missing. Because they want it to be so ubiquitous, so that everybody can do it, that essentially, gaming is literally going to be fucking like Candy Crunch evolved. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be this game where you almost don't realise you're doing it because you're doing it so much, and you barely demanded to do anything. Like, a lot of people give these walking simulators a lot of shit. Even the name itself, a walking simulator, is derogatory of that genre. But there is so much to do in that, and there's so much to... Because a lot of it is mental, psychological. So you get as much out of those games as you put in yourself. And that's what people miss. It's the same people who go into a horror film, and it's psychological horror, and there's nobody being stabbed, there's nobody jumping out, there's no big-titted blonde running away from a chainsaw man. And they go, that was a piece of shit. Because you need the fucking dum-dum on a stick to be afraid. You can't create your own fear by putting yourself in there and exposing that vulnerability. It's an interesting question, but that's what I would say. The best thing is better checkpoints. The worst thing is how we're essentially just completely neuting, gentrifying everything that made games, and turning them into essentially things that can play themselves. Fucking Twitch plays anything. Ridiculous. Interesting. Be careful, this sender failed our fraud detection checks. So I'm not giving you my email address. Hi, how do you feel about people that get easily offended by jokes? Also, what is your opinion on guys with long hair? I don't have too much time for people who get easily offended by jokes, because the answer's in the title, isn't it? It's a joke. And I appreciate you find it bad taste, I appreciate it's not to your taste or whatever. It's a fucking joke, let it go. And this is a tricky one, because there's a lot of things, isn't there? You know, like when those famous comedians made that joke about rape, and it all blew up. Or when certain comedians said racial slurs and it all kind of blew up, yet other comedians or rappers say these same slurs and it's perfectly fine. You know, there's the race divides and things. It's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield. But for me personally, I've always kind of gone with the mentality that South Park does, even though a lot of people disagree with that. Whereas I think you can take the piss out of anything. And the moment you don't take the piss out of something, you draw a line in the sand and then you become a hypocrite. So to me, I will make a joke out of absolutely everything. That doesn't mean I want to offend everybody, because I hate offending people unless that's my goal. Whenever I make offensive jokes, and I do, you know, I've joked about everything from the fucking Holocaust to gay people to anything. Everything, you know, because I say stupid shit. It's never meant to, you know, to hurt people down at the core, but unfortunately it does. And I think that's what you've got to appreciate. Like me and my girlfriend will always disagree with this question, because I'm the person who... I think rape is funny. I also think it's one of the sickest, most just awful things that can happen. I think in a lot of ways it's probably worse than murder, because it is essentially taking from somebody that thing that you cannot take. And it can damage people for the rest of their lives. You know, it's one of the most heinous things humans can do, and any animal. But at the same time, I've heard a lot of funny rape jokes, and it doesn't mean in any way I'm trying to diminish or devalue the severity of that crime. It's just in certain context, and that's the key, guys. The context is the thing. It can be really funny. And it all goes back to going to see a stand-up comedian. If you go to see a stand-up comedian and you get offended by what they say, why the fuck did you go and see them? I'm sorry, when you go to that temple of humour, you're there to hear him say fucked up stuff. You're there to hear him say the shit you think but can't say, because that's what a lot of comedians were. This freedom of speech against the oppression of everyday life, where they go up and they say the things like... It baffles my mind. But at the same time, if I remove my own personal bias from this, I understand why people get offended. So, me personally, I don't have time for it, but I get it. What is your opinion on guys with long hair? I have long hair. So, it is what it is, isn't it? I grew my hair because I was sick of not doing anything with it, and now I've grown it and I don't do anything with it. It's wonderful. It's a nightmare in the bath, you know? But long hair on guys, it was only ever really on band people and wrestlers, and there's nothing wrong with band people or wrestlers, so if you want long hair, get long hair. If you want short hair, have short hair. It's up to you. Aye, what's up, dude? Question: out of all the times you've recorded projects and danced with some of the most rage-inducing difficulties of gaming, which project made you want to tear your hair out the most? To the point where you were literally like, fuck this shit. Mine personally was playing Akumu of Evil Within, which is actually how I found your channel. You helped me when I was stuck at the shooting gallery cargo lift thingy towards the end. Have a great day. 25k. I'll be there at 100k too. This is really tough, this, because my mind kind of blocks those moments out. But I threw my controller yesterday, and I haven't thrown my controller in a long-ass time. And it was the crappiest thing, it really was. Rage-induced walkthroughs. Tony Hawk's got me really mad. It got me, like, grinding my teeth mad. Because there was that asteroid belt mission, and I kept falling off the grinds even though I was on them, and I pressed the grind button and he'd just fall off, and I was just like, you fucking thing. But to add to the story I was saying, in Yakuza there's hard knockdowns, and in Yakuza Ishin the swords do hard knockdowns, so this boss literally hard knocked down, when I was standing up, he hard knocked down me again, when I was standing up, he just kept fucking Okizemi-ing me with these hard knockdowns. There was nothing I could do, and he did it about 4 times in a row, and I did that, you know that thing where you kind of spaz out, but you don't know what to do during the spaz, so you kind of just jazz hands, and before I knew it, my pad was flying, and it landed down by my chair where I'm sat now, and it was a PlayStation 3 controller, so it wasn't too bad, because in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to ruin a controller, you want to ruin that bag of shit. But a really, really hard one. Like Gears 3, last boss, I was nearly in tears at that one. Oh! Mile High Club! Because I was in tears! There you go! But it wasn't for a guide. This was before YouTube. So get this right, dudes. I was doing COD 4 Veteran Mile High Club for about 4 hours before I did it. And it was horrible. I was delirious. My issue was not the fact it's hard, and not the fact of any of the actual mission. It's at the end. I missed the shot 3 times. So I did the fucking hard bit, and then missed the bullshit shot at the end. And I was crying. Like, when I beat that, and I finally landed that shot at the end, I physically cried. And it wasn't, you know, like a proper cry where you get into it and that. It was just... there was tears, and I couldn't tell where they'd come from. It was like somebody was crying through me. It was horrible. I hated it that much. But I just got bad luck in that. Like, if I'd have landed the first shot, that probably wouldn't have been a problem. It was the fact I missed it 3 times. You know, and I had to do the hell of those 2 fucking floors, which, if you've ever done that, it's really, really hard. It's only short, but it's hard. Like, straight up. So brutal. And that's the definition of insanity.